Welcome back to another episode of The Rhythm. I am your host, Jarrett Reed. The Rhythm is about finding where people come from and how they get to a point where they are. Everything is connected, in my opinion, especially being here in the South. I think a lot of things start here in the South. Speaking of the South, here's a word from my idol.
Yeah, first of all, you know what I'm saying? We want to thank God, just, you know what I'm saying, dead serious, because if it weren't for him, you know what I'm saying, we wouldn't be here. But it's like this, though. I'm tired of folks, you know what I'm saying? Them closed-minded folks, you know what I'm saying? It's like we got a demo tape and don't nobody want to hear it, but it's like this, the South got something to say. That's all I got to say.
Speaking of the South having something to say, I'm a big component of that, and I'll always push that envelope forward. My guest to my right, I think he has a lot to say, even though he doesn't really say things in his work. It's more about his ability to tell stories through his visuals. I think that's a crucial part to who he is, and I'm very interested in figuring out how he got started. I say elite storyteller, photographer, videographer, whatever else that you do, and we'll talk about that. My man Vo, what's up, bro?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Good,
Gotta do
bro.
the right hand. Gotta do the right
Yeah,
hand.
you gotta do it right hands for sure, for sure. Let's actually get started from from the beginning. Like, you're from Baton Rouge?
Yeah, I'm from Baton Rouge. I was born and raised.
Yeah.
Um, been there basically 27 years of my life until I moved out here.
All right, born and raised. All right, I was born in Earl K. Long.
Okay.
So I used to be in Baton Rouge a ton. I always think Louisiana is like this melting pot of different cultures. You can be in Baton Rouge and then be in Lafayette in an hour. It's a totally different world. An hour away in New Orleans, it's a totally different world. Like, there's like a melting pot of different cultures in one place, really like a gumbo pot of different cultures in one place. And then you seem like you've been able to navigate that pretty well of just different cultures and having your own culture in a sense.
Yes, call me the Cajun Creole.
For sure.
That's the kind of gumbo pot that you speak of, right? Just being in Baton Rouge, you kind of get both point of views of life in Louisiana, given that Lafayette and that end and New Orleans at the other end being in its own separate entity.
Yeah.
So you get essentially a melting pot of cultures in that sense. It being the capital city and just being able to see a lot of people who come from New Orleans that came from Katrina
Mhm.
and this Lafayette in general. When people come to Baton Rouge to either go to LSU or Southern, you just get to see a lot.
For sure. Let's take it back to your childhood, right? Like, how did you get to the point where you are where, you know, I think you come from I'm a guess your ethnicity. No, I'm not gonna guess. What is your ethnicity?
I'm Vietnamese.
Vietnamese. But yeah, it seems like you've immersed yourself in, I say, black culture too. Like, you've been able to navigate that pretty well. How?
Yeah, I'm adopted actually. I'm
Okay.
adopted. I have a black dad and a Vietnamese mom. So just in that sense, I've been able to kind of open myself up into two different cultures,
Yeah.
and even two different cuisines,
Yeah.
and just being able to just relate to everybody
Yeah.
that's around. Um, that kind of just opened my eyes to just be an open book for people.
Yeah.
Just being able to communicate, seeing how my dad communicates, seeing how my mom communicates, and just finding my own twist to it.
Yeah.
And the most important thing, like for me as a principal, is just to treat everybody how I would like to be treated.
Yeah.
And in general, black people have treated me like I'm in home. So it's just like, why would I portray that? I would never portray that. I want to do the same thing for everybody else.
I We talked about this kind of off camera, but like faking like, you don't seem to do that. Everybody that I talk about to you, well, talk about them about you, they say the same thing. Like, you're the same person every single time, and it doesn't change. You're not trying to be something that you're not. Like, I can equate to that where I went to a predominantly white like high school, and I think you did too. You went to
Yeah,
Catholic
I'm
high.
the Catholic guy. Yeah,
So being from let's say a black family background, you have that, but yet you get immersed in this different world that you also have to navigate.
yes,
And I'm like, yo, it's different. It really is different, and you got to kind of figure it out as you go along.
yeah. That's a big coin to see the side of, right? You gotta get to see both sides of the coin and seeing how life is different for everybody,
Yeah.
and just being able to gain the perspective, um, just throughout the years. I started in private school since I was in middle school, right? And then I went to Catholic, and then kind of just seeing that as a predominantly white high school, being a minority. I was one of the two Asians in my graduating class.
Yeah.
So, and we were both playing football. So it's like being immersed in that, and then being immersed in just like the corner of the lunch table,
Yeah.
if you will. Um, just, you know, basically, it helped me gain like a tight knit family,
Yeah.
or a tight knit like mindset whenever it comes to having friends, or understanding principle in that way. Um, because you just, whenever you kind of like the only ones in the corner of that table, you just tend to lock in together a little bit more,
Yeah.
and make sure, like, throughout the years of your life, you stay connected.
Yeah. I think having those principles is pretty key. I mean, to what you was describing, like I felt that, like it was one point where it was just like a black table at this one school. I think it was like four of us that graduated at the same time. It's like it feels like you have to be connected because if you're not, you don't have anything else to associate with.
Right. And then, you just gotta know your roots too. You gotta have good roots.
Yeah.
That's like the main thing about standing tall. You gotta have good roots.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking about those roots, you have a adopted black dad and a Vietnamese mom. Like, how are those cultures like at home? Like, how are you able to balance those at home?
Well, I mean, it's different, of course, but it has most of its similarities. As if, whenever you're that younger generation, they expect you to carry yourself in a manner of just like excellence.
Yeah,
You know, in both cultures, we want to instill in our kids that we want to give them excellence,
yeah,
right? Whether it's an example, whether it's something we gain, or anything like that. With anything we put ourselves into, they just make sure to instill that. The other thing is, you know, it's funny when you kind of say like, What's different? What's the same?" It just all feels the same, really. I think the only thing that's kind of different is my mom is strict.
really?
Well, my mom was very strict about school at the time, and made sure we had a great education, right? And that's one thing that like I got from my mom, to kind of remain disciplined in the anywhere I'm learning, or anywhere I'm at school. My dad, he's a doctor, but he remains creative as well. He has some creative, what's it called?
Ideals.
Creative ideals, creative vices, or
Okay.
loves music.
Okay.
Music was one of the big things for him.
Like outlets.
Yeah, outlets. There
Yeah.
you go. Art, sculptures. He had sculptures. Whenever he had his office, he had an office in Baton Rouge, North Baton Rouge, where it was like he was the provider for a lot of the people in the projects, or in the
Yeah.
hood, right? So he always had his office decked out with like sculptures, books, art,
Yeah.
music, and the people that come in, you just feel like you're in a museum. You know what I mean?
That's cool.
So him being that provider, and that creative, has been instilled in me as well.
I I like to talk about the point about your mom being strict about school. So you go to Southern University, predominantly black school. Crazy switch, right?
Yeah,
And you get into, I think one of their better programs is the nursing program. And you decide at one point, like, nah,
yeah.
I'm not doing this anymore.
My mom went to Southern too.
Oh, word.
Yeah,
That's
so
cool,
my mom
bro.
went to Southern nursing school as well, so she was very familiar with all of the teachers that were there, and so just being there just kind of felt like I was in a little bit of like a legacy. My
Yeah.
my dad went to Southern too,
Bro,
undergrad,
yeah, bro.
so
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
we were like I
Yo,
was
how is
integrated in.
that conversation?
I mean, that they're not hard up on it.
Yeah.
They're not hard up on legacy. They just want us to be. My mom's main want for us is to be all right,
Yeah.
and what means to be all right is to be stable, or to be, intellectual,
Yeah.
be able to carry yourself throughout the world. She doesn't say it out loud, but I could tell, like,
Yeah.
with every intention that she has, like, you know, molded us to be, is to be that. And same thing with my dad is like, he wants us to be ourselves, remain and like remain intellectual, and remain creative as well. So that conversation, it wasn't really a hard conversation to have because, um, when I wanted to do nursing, they were like, "Oh yeah, it's great. That's stable. That's all cool." And then
Yeah.
just when we kind of moseyed on into the other part of my career,
Yeah.
that's where that real conversation came about.
So I'm gonna take it back. High school, I think in the video you dropped on Instagram, your uncle was the first person to have it. I guess have a camera, expose you to a camera, always having it, taking pictures, that sort of thing, and that kind of graduated into you being in high school and being in a media class or some sort of media class, and you doing videos, and you fell in love.
Yes, my uncle, for as long as I know, had a camera. He was documenting a lot of our family, like throughout the years from like almost 70s to now. Well, 70s to the early 2000s, and just being able to see him and kind of work in his craft, I almost took it for granted because you just kind of just used to seeing that happen, and then the most beautiful thing that come out of that from his camera work is all the photo books that I get access to, and just being able to tell some of the stories, or my mom or my grandma at the time, or even him tell me some of the stories that happened in that photograph. And that still sticks with me to this day. I realize it more now than ever because of where I'm at now in the photography and video world. Um, I take that like that lesson, if you will, to be timeless with your storytelling, and to be able to like give somebody something to hold on to for the rest of their lives.
I mean, that's a bar, but that point of telling the story with something physical, I think it kind of gets lost sometimes in this digital world. Like we have pictures in our phones. How many times are you pulling your phone out to show everybody all these pictures? Is difficult. That's why I think photo books need to like make a resurgence in a sense,
Yes,
because you see a picture and you're like, oh, what happened here?
yes,
And then you tell the story.
and you know it's a precious thing to have. One of those most like it's the most important things in a lot of people's lives to be
Yeah.
able to look back, and you hear this all the time. It's like it ain't happened until I saw a picture. Like
Yeah,
if you said you met Denzel Washington, it's like how can I believe you if you don't have a picture of him?
yeah.
So being able to have like that physical standpoint of just photography within the photo albums, or the prints on the frame, or even just something as small as a refrigerator magnet.
Yeah.
Those are the things they can hold on to for the rest of your life.
No, for sure. I mean, especially like being down here, I think the other part of that coin is, we have hurricanes and we have flooding, and you're worried about, losing those precious memories because, but yet they're in your phone, you have them, but the other end of that, it's like who's going to see it if they're
Right,
always in your
right.
phone?
I always tell people, I want to tell y'all right now, to make sure y'all scan all of y'all old photos first, just so you can reproduce them at any point in time. Um, because there's always accidents that may happen, or hurricanes, like you said, or floods. Always scan your photos.
That's advice from Vo. We appreciate it. All right, so you're at Southern, you stop, you're like, all right, I'm going full time into, you know, video photography. What made you say, nah, this gotta be it?
So, in order for me to tell you that, is to kind of tell you the beginning of that, right?
Yeah.
Um, when I left Catholic, when I graduated, I didn't leave. I didn't have a choice. when when I graduated from Catholic, I went to BRCC for 2 years, and hold on, I got the jam going.
Welcome to New Orleans.
I went to 2 years of BRCC, but I was doing a lot of video work on my phone, and that's like the best camera you could have on you if you're trying to just document anything at that point. And like stemming off of that multimedia class from senior year, I just kept getting at like doing videos or vines at the time,
Yeah.
or just editing on my computer.
Shout out to Vine, man.
It just like sparked for me to like just capture my life a little bit, or if there's something that I know that had an importance, just to capture it. Um, 2 years into that, I got my first camera when I got into Southern Christmas 2015,
What was it?
and it was a Canon Rebel T6i. Had a little flip screen, which was very important at the times because I could be able to vlog or kind of just get a preview of what my shot looks like every time I move it. And that was my main workhorse for a good while at Southern, doing it for fun, doing it during doing taking photos and videos during Pretty Wednesday, or just overall going to downtown with my friends and doing essentially what are photo walks, you know, practicing our craft and learning more about photography and sharpening our own irons, you know, and just the business of that kind of picked up just after 1 year. It's at a good pace. Year two, year three, year four is starting to pick up rapidly until like essentially a business started to form. And then I remember upgrading to a full frame camera called the 5D Mark II, which is like an old entry level like full frame camera you can get to learn like photography as a whole with. And took a few years of learning that. Well, like 20, and I started nursing school in 2016 after the flood. Got to work at politics in 2017. I would say I was whenever the Sean Witherspoons came out. So
Yeah.
that's probably like March. That's Air Max Day 2017.
That's crazy how we denotate time with
The shoes.
releases. Yeah, it's crazy.
So I mean, I wasn't an employee yet, but I did like my first video with them um, around that time, and then I got a job there right after that video while in nursing school. Sorry, you good? While in nursing school, and at that point, it's just like work just started. So
Yeah.
as you progress during the nursing program, it gets more demanding, and at the same time, the work between photography and videography became more demanding. I was about I don't know, maybe 2 years into the nursing program.
Which
I
is
had
pretty deep, right?
yeah, yeah, like you're in there, like you're either like boom or bust, at that point. And a lot of people were starting to like kind of come into their own as far as being a nurse. I was going to clinical and stuff like
Yeah.
at 6 o'clock in the morning to 6 p.m. Uh, seeing patients and nurturing being a nurse at that point. And then in the books every day,
Yeah.
studying, trying to get those grades up to the point where we pass or at least pass or more. So it's just like the period of time when I was like 23, 24, just reading my ass off in those books. And at the same time, knowing like I would do anything just to do photography and videography, even if it took a second out of my time. Um,
Yeah, so like that's one. I used to be a recruiter at a different universities and used to hear about like Southeastern's nursing program compared to like Southern's program, and both of them pretty stringent on how many people they allow into nursing school. You got into nursing school, and it was like not that you couldn't do the work, something else was just pulling you away from that.
yeah. And if I probably did have the ability to like go through it if I really wanted to.
Yeah,
But I guess the real test to it was whenever I had my last semester and I didn't do well. Um, that was probably my hardest semester I had in nursing school, and it was in the pediatrics and OBGYN unit. Uh, between those two classes, those are probably the hardest to kind of like understand because
yeah,
we don't really understand that.
no. No. I mean, especially dealing with babies, and they take a different. It's like a different scale of medicine
Yeah,
that they need, and you got to know
yeah,
can't be wrong with
yeah,
this.
and it was a hard year. I remember seeing my first birthday year. It was crazy. Like, I look as a male nursing student, they don't let you in the room. So that was one moment in my time that stuck with me.
Listen, as a father of three, I don't like being in the room. I'm telling you, dog. The first time they were like, "You okay?" I said, "Yeah," but no, I was not okay. It's a different
Look,
perspective.
bro.
It's a different level of respect you got to give women, and
Yes,
yeah, man, like nah,
absolutely.
that's nothing to play with.
No,
That's
and
nothing.
especially when I was in the room, it was a C-section.
Yeah, yeah,
That was like one of those moments where I was like a
yeah,
new gain of respect
yeah.
in that sense of just like this is what y'all go through as women, you know.
Just to
And it's crazy that that's what nursing school taught me. Like just being in the room
yeah,
when people are either at their worst or struggling through their condition, or in a sense, delivering a baby. That's just like you just learn to kind of how to navigate needs
yeah,
more, and that's something that's still instilled to me this day.
yeah,
But like I said, the school part was just the difficult part of that, and I didn't pass, so I already kind of like used up my repeats, and I could go back to Southern to get an appeal to go back to class to matriculate
yeah,
throughout the program. But I think like
yeah,
all praise to the Most High told me, God told me, hey, look back into that for a second, So I locked myself into a dark room with a candle.
yeah.
I
So you had a séance.
was just like, let me just. I wasn't as calm, but I was like, what am I about to do?
Yeah,
What am I about to do at this point? And how am I going to tell my mom this? It's probably easier to tell my dad this because he knows that I was into it. But the main person I was thinking about is how do I tell my mom this? Because she is the moderator, the person that provided, person that sacrificed
yeah,
for academics, instilled excellence in me. She didn't like. I think in a way, just even expected me to graduate, but I just saw a different path, and what I wanted to make sure I did was come up with a plan for her to know that like it's gonna be all right, you know.
yeah,
And that's crazy that just like from that conversation, it lifted like a big rock out of my back.
yeah.
Being able to just finally like you know be into the calling that I've always wanted to be in. Just making videos since I was 13 years old, even though they were silly
Yeah.
and embarrassing. um, it still sparked something in me to keep it going.
How did you after that conversation? Usually, like there's like this level of independence, right? But yet you get to this point where you're doing videos. What was the moment you were like, I made the right decision? I mean, you've
Man,
done a lot.
yeah.
What was the first one? Was
You
like,
know,
yeah,
Derek gave me a raise after I made that decision. So that's a pretty big highlight at the time where he just told me like when I was working at politics, he said, "Look, I'm glad you're doing this because you're very talented, and I know you can do well for our company." And that was like a very validating factor into making the decision at the time. Um, staying with the politics team, they really wanted me there.
sure. I mean, shout out to politics, good people over there. You've done a lot of work with them. Hell, you've done work with Jordan Brand with them. I think,
Yeah,
right? You've shot pretty much everything there.
at the video at the time, yeah, a lot
Yeah,
of those videos, man, there was a lot of short navigations because let's say for example the Adidas Forum.
yeah,
Remember those?
yeah.
500.
Which I wanted a pair, couldn't get a pair. If anybody has a pair, I'd
Yeah,
like
there's
one.
one for sale on the website right now.
Really?
Yeah,
What
it's a
size?
size 8.
Nah, I can't do it. I think we were. Matter of fact, we need to have another conversation. We were the same size.
9.5.
Yeah,
That's I almost wore those today.
yeah, we were the same size. So when I was reaching out to our partner at politics, Arnold, he's like, it depends, like if you have gotten the shoe already or not. So just want to let
No.
you know that
Oh
that's happened
no.
at least 2 times at
Oh
this point,
no.
which
Look,
is fine. I get it.
I've been chilling out ever since.
Nah, I've been chilling too, so it's all good. It's all good.
Oh man, Arnold. Look. If Arnold, look, if he wants to look, he can have
No, no, no,
it.
no, no. It's cool. I understand the game. The game is the game. I'm just here to play it. If it happens, it happens. I'm not hard
but
up, but I understand how it goes, man. It's good.
I had 2 weeks. So speaking on that Adidas form, I had 2 weeks to form up an idea. Like the shoe was in my hand. I'm just like, all right, what can we do to impact every community that these stores are in to get more just like, more eyes on the shoe. And just ultimately it was just telling stories like pretty much tailored to the city
Yeah.
or the community in that sense. And I was just kind of like flying around with my head on fire, just trying to create, for example, here, Jalen, I had him, part of the campaign in that sense. And then in Dallas, Kellen had me go into a coffee shop and just basically, picking out the people that he felt like were impactful in the Dallas community and like getting them hooked up with the shoes. So like um coming up with those like easy, quick, like, well, not easy, coming up with those quick solutions to tell a story was definitely one thing that I gained from politics.
I I think that's one of the things I've always been impressed with you about is your ideas. I don't know if they again, I'm not in the process when you're creating them, but like the way they come to light and connect with people, your ability to tell stories without using words is pretty pretty good. Like you don't have to say much, but the visual you give tells me everything I really want to know.
And it kind of goes back to like when I was talking about nursing is the needs. What are
Yeah,
those highlight bullet points to make sure I cover when it comes to creating a short campaign or even my own videos. Um, a lot of the times it goes off top the dome, off my head, and just like here, there's like this setting. I think we can do something to work here. Or if I feel like I need to be more strategic with my storytelling, I storyboard. I just
yeah.
draw out my stuff or um, kind of like map it out in a way. Um, and it's all like pretty intentional. For example, the last video that you saw on Instagram between just kind of choosing the title I put as choosing creativity over conformity is I made the voiceover first, and then everything within that voiceover was to was a task for me to find like supporting footage for that point or creating supporting footage for that point.
How long does that take you?
How long was that? 4 days,
4 days?
3 or 4 days.
All right, for
Uh,
sure.
um, just in between, just like it probably could have been done in 1 to 2 days, honestly, because we were using the studio space. They had that part. Then we might have had an obligation to do something in between, and then I went back and just made sure I gathered everything I needed at that point. And it was pretty interesting because in that video specifically, I had to look back like a bunch of years of just stuff and just reflect back on that
Yeah,
and let that tell the story.
for sure. I really want to talk about this. It's two things I really got to bring up to you. The NPR thing with currency,
Yes.
which seemed like a pretty cool experience, bro.
Yeah. It was great. How that happened? DJ Keith Scott. Thank you. By the way, he has close ties with Jet Life, whether it's an event or DJing or or curating at that moment in time. We were at a whole different gig. I think it was with M Line. We were doing a trailer for M Line Ball, which was one of like the first annual ones that he threw. And Keith was there. He's like watching me just kind of like go with the process of making this trailer. He's like, "Man, I see you got the resources, the lights, space, and crew. You think you could do a tiny desk with currency?" I was like, "Yeah, like of course. Like that's like being asked to do that is it was it was amazing to hear. It's just like almost couldn't believe that he asked me to do that. But um, and what Keith saw was at the time was the process
Yeah,
and just being that like the I guess a huge selling point to him and seeing how it all kind of came about. He knew that was going to be it was going to be a breeze.
I mean, it came out really well. I think it was well received
Yeah,
from most accounts. Currencies, I think you're in Currency's garage, if I'm not mistaken,
it
or
was currencies. it was like a yeah, his garage,
Warehouse,
essentially, yeah,
yeah,
warehouse garage, yeah.
where
It's like a flex,
yeah,
but
where he keeps all his important
yeah.
things. Yeah, yeah,
Maybe things we can't discuss.
yeah, 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 for sure, for sure, for sure. We're not here to tell. We,
That's a mess. I'm mess.
but no, I think that's a testament to kind of who you are. You know, kind of put the work first. It's never like, hey, I can do this, rather than like, no, I'm doing something, and if you need me, you know where to find me.
Yeah, yeah. You know, and that's like I guess the most organic way of marketing yourself or just pushing your brand. You
Yeah,
know, just being able to just show that you can prove it instead of saying a bunch of stuff to say that you do it right. And and the quality of visuals and the quality of your work and the quality of yourself.
yeah,
Those are probably the three pillars to kind of get the job.
no, for sure. Um, I think that's a great segue to kind of put something else to this. Used to be in a dance crew, or
Yeah, I used to be in a dance crew. It's called Bravehearts Dance Crew back in BR. If you know Mark Fresh,
yeah,
Mark used to get down back when he was in LSU.
yeah. I mean, you can see from the videos he's been on with Kale. Shout
Yeah.
out to Ronnie and Ruckus.
Yes.
And you can see like, oh, all right,
He doesn't play. Anytime I'm at a party, he just comes up to me and just starts wanting to like battle me. I'm like, all right, I'm like Mark, and then Mark's older than me. He's just like, you have no excuse. He's like, you better get down because you could say that you're getting old, but look at me, like that dude can move.
yeah, for sure.
Like that dude can literally move. So he's just like, come on, like what's up?
Not only can he move, dude can paint. Dude's
Yes,
a great artist.
yes, he's talented all the way around, and definitely one of like the guys I looked up to whenever it came to anything, you know.
And I think that's another person that you can kind of look at him like he's himself all the time.
Yes,
Doesn't necessarily change for he doesn't care who's in the room, who's like, nah, if it's some BR music, dude probably jigging somewhere.
yes, and he'll
Like
hit it too.
yeah, no, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
So yeah, I mean, I was a part of a crew. Um, Dance videos were like was one of those things I was into at the time in high school actually. Um, I was really helping a friend like make creating videos a lot, and then I kind of like jumped in and did my own thing in front of the camera a few times too, and then that just like uh it was just a way to express myself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, for sure. No, I used to be jigging in the club, man.
yeah.
Shout out to Club Rags, Club the Empire. We've the Entertainment Center. There's a couple of places I've been
Only been
to.
to EXO.
Really?
Yeah, only
Hey,
been, maybe like Tigerland once in a while, but
Tigerland, Tigerland.
yeah,
It is what it is.
yeah,
But I'm talking about the places that
yeah. That
you
curated, yeah,
where you leaving the club with no shirt on. Yeah, yeah,
literally.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, recently you went to Duke University,
Yes.
and then I don't know exactly what you did there, but it seemed amazing. Can you explain what the hell you were doing? How'd you get like not how'd you get there, but who got you there?
Yeah. John Battle is one of the directors of player development over there. He was one of the in 20. He played at LSU as a safety. He was one of the guys that's with at DBU
Uh,
essentially, and that branched out and was in the league for a little minute, and then became a part of like player development in different universities. Whether it's Miami, he went to UM, and then UH at Houston for the women's basketball team. Then he moved on to become a director of player development at Duke University for the football team.
that's a crazy jump.
Yeah, and definitely one of the most like important guys into my career too, because where we kind of like gained a relationship was through photography, and John at the time when he was an athlete at LSU, he was showcasing a lot of his interest in photography at the time, especially fifth year senior and wanting to do a documentary about himself. So he had me on. We went to he's from Miami, so we went to Miami, and I got to see like a lot of parts of his life, and basically got to know him in that way and know his roots. And we just gained a big friendship out of that process too, because you're interviewing his grandmother, his best friend that stuck with him forever, and he's the fourth John Battle, and I got to be in the room with like the three generations.
That's
And
cool.
just got to like understand like where he comes from, um, and that way it just kind of like flourished since then. And he wanted me to talk to the kids at the football team, whether they're at their freshman to senior year. A lot of those kids have to think about post athletic career, and what I got to do was a leadership week
Okay.
before they break out and to come back to camp, um, and got to speak a little bit about my journey as far as from college to now, and just to get them, you know, thinking about the kind of choices that they had to make. Like for example, being stuck in that room,
Yeah.
you know, a major career change or life decision.
For sure. It seems like you did that for somebody else. I don't know if it's like a documentary, but Jarvis Landry picked up a camera. I think he even said you influenced him.
Man. Yeah, whenever Jarvis was with the Saints, I got to document a lot of his game day stuff, or whenever Letcher
Yeah.
retired his jersey, got to document a lot of that. And then in the off season, he kind of hit me up and was like, "Hey, like, I want you to capture some more." He lives in Florida, so I want you to capture some more over here. I was like, "All right, well, we'll spend the weekend. Let's figure this out." And I got to go over there and just kind of like get a scope of his life, and understand more about him. And at the same time, he was getting more interested into media himself. And I gave him just like the whole game, or really like, well, as much as I could.
Yeah.
And just he just soaked it in. I felt like he was just being a receiver at that point, like
Yeah.
of that kind of process. He was just really into it, and his greatness kind of came out in that sense too.
Nah, it seems like it. He was creating videos. I'm like, bro, already? Like, it
He was
just
killing it.
yeah. And I was like, man, that's pretty impressive. I mean, it ain't like he reached out to. I don't. You're not a billionaire, no, so nothing like that. Like
Yeah,
you just a dude that was, you know, in the mix, and he reached out to you as
yeah,
if like you were the expert, which you are, and you gave him what he needed at the time,
yeah,
and it seems like it's flourishing.
yeah. He's killing it. He has a lot of like you know interesting stories to tell. Um, and being where he's from, he gets to just like he has a chance to kind of like shine a light into that too.
Yeah,
And his brother, shout out to Gerard, he's probably like a really cool component to just his story, and just like how we met too, how me and Jarvis met as well.
for sure. You talked about giving him the game, so I'm gonna ask this question: what's the first thing you look for when you're taking a picture?
First thing I look for,
Well, all encompassing things when taking a picture. What are you looking
yeah,
for? What elements?
yeah, just like just to think about where people are present in that moment, and where the most important either figures, if it's an event, I think about like the most important figures in that room. Um, I got a tip the other like a few years ago saying like, hey, think about the oldest person in that room. That's gonna be somebody that they're gonna cherish forever, and don't that knowing that they're there. So that's one thing I'm like, okay, who are the most important figures in here to make sure that they can you know, keep that memory.
Yeah,
Um, other things, man, I just kind of go, you know. I basically overshoot until I find a good bit of just like um, pictures that just tell the story. So you're basically just like whenever I'm taking a picture, I'm just going through the process of just taking pictures, right?
yeah,
Then I go through that post process of just like, okay, what are the best handpicked ones that I could feel like just tell the story from front to back, and give them like the curated pics of that sense.
got it. Uh, I I picked up a matter of fact, I think I hit you up maybe a couple years ago, maybe probably 4 years
Yeah,
ago
the
or something.
Sony.
Yeah, and I got it, and I wanted to document my kid's life because I don't think no shot at my parents, but I don't think they did that right, or like I don't know what I was looking at or what I was doing at the age of 10. I can remember it, but how do I see it? Right? How can I feel it and get those memories back? Um, So I want to do that for my kids. And one, I think the most difficult part for me is like finding my own style.
Mm.
I think because we consume so much, information, sometimes it can be a little heck. I don't think there's no shame in like seeing what other people can do, but I also want to be myself in this. I think that's a difficult part for me.
Yeah, it's just like finding your writing style, finding your
Yeah.
style of like of media. You know, it's just like in that sense, if you're doing something like capturing your kids, it's almost like a documentary in a way. You know, it's like docu style, right? Whether they're just like uh sitting just playing by a window of light. That's a very, you know, that could be a moment in time that they can remember forever. Or just even like when you're in a docu style mindset of capturing your kids, maybe capturing them in the playroom that they're in
Yeah.
because they can remember what it looked like when they grow up.
Yeah.
They'll remember those different elements of those times. Like I often associate my my childhood with my outfits
For
as a
sure.
kid. So like
For sure.
if you got them all decked out wearing like I was wearing Nautica and like,
Yeah.
you know, overalls, and my mom, I don't know what how, I still ask my mom to this day. She got me like some flu games. I'm like, Mom, do you even know what these are?
Nah, maybe she just liked them, bro.
At the time, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like, and I had Reebok pumps, you know, like
Yeah.
those are the things that I just like where did this come from? And but I remember those little things about my childhood.
Yeah. Nah, for sure. I appreciate that. Just trying to figure out where like I can be myself in it rather
Hmm.
than you got people on Instagram and social media and
Yeah,
it seems like that. I'm like, nah, I don't want to be that. I want to
yeah.
be myself.
I think within being yourself is like searching yourself within that time too, within that photography.
Yeah.
Um, that's what those times of going to downtown were for. Being able to just like go out and just go do something. So it's like
Yeah.
maybe you'll find your style doing that, finding an activity for yourself to be able to capture, or finding an activity with the family to
Yeah.
be able to capture too.
To that point, do you find yourself going back to like old pictures?
Yeah. Whenever okay, so whenever I first watched like those videos when I was 13, I kind of just laughed because some of those things that I did then is still what I do now. So eh, I don't know how to explain it from like a just a well, I probably could like, explain it better if I was watching it, but like putting the camera and just setting it and just going out and go do something, or like the editing style of like a way I cut into like funny moments, or you know, even down to how I choose my music. Those were the things that like were like the main principal things about my how I do stuff now. And then like when I looked at that video, I was just flabbergasted just to see that those things are still stuck with me.
For sure.
Yeah.
I I think that's pretty crucial to kind of who you are, right? You be able to go back and look and see like what are the things that I do now that I still associate with what I did then,
Mhm.
and I think that's rhythm, right? It's
Yeah.
bring it full circle. It's like what made me do this, and why do I continue to do this, and how do I build upon that? Like I think your rhythm is pretty unique, although you
Yeah.
have a unique background, so it all makes sense.
Yeah. You know, hey, being in a family, I got rhythm. I gotta have rhythm.
Yeah, yeah, you gotta have rhythm. You gotta have rhythm. Before we get out of here, what's the one thing you would tell your younger self?
Just trust in you. You know, just trust in your decisions a lot more in order to be more confident with yourself. And a lot of confidence comes in trust, and then that trust really comes from within in the early time and age, right? Um, so just being trusting, that's the main thing.
For sure. I'm pulling up your Instagram just so I don't mess it up. Um, Anything else before we go?
No, I just want to say thank you, bro.
No, I appreciate you, bro.
Yeah,
For sure. I think this is a great conversation. I think it's much needed. I'm pretty sure we could have went deeper than probably what we would have.
probably been, yeah, 3 hours.
Yeah, we probably would have went a couple hours for sure. It's hot as shit in here. Um, so again, I appreciate you pulling up. I
Thank
think it was a wonderful conversation. Eventually, we probably do this again and kind of go deeper in this. You can follow Vo on Instagram at TVADV.
you. Yep,
That's it.
those are my initials.
Okay.
A lot of people think it's TV Adam, but I have like 5 names.
bro, you rebranded too. I knew we were supposed to talk about something else.
Okay, maybe we go back.
Yeah,
We cut to
yeah,
that and come back.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. You rebranded.
yeah. Well, from TV ADV to Vo.
Yeah,
Yeah. That approach came from kind of just looking back in my life, especially in high school, and TV ADV, like we're talking about right now. It's hard to kind of like associate that with me in a way of just like, even though it's my name,
yeah,
people need something more consumable, right? And the most basic sense of what I remember in high school is my last name was always used to be called upon, whether it's like in football
yeah,
or just in general. Everybody just calls me Vo. I kind of used to reject it a little bit
yeah,
because I was just like, why y'all? I have a name, but like when I kind of understood how easier, or how it just made it easier for everyone to call me, it's just like, why not? And then a lot of brands have like 1 to 2 syllables,
yeah,
and the biggest brand off their name, who I've seen has 1 syllable, is Shaq. Shaq uses his name on a lot of things, and you're able to just recognize it from a standpoint of just associating it with him and associating it with fun.
yeah.
So that's like how I kind of just like had an epiphany. I was like, okay, so if people just call me Vo, why not embrace it?
Similar to Kanye switching from Kanye to Ye.
Yeah,
Like same principle.
yeah, that just sticks with people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Crazy thing is people search like I live in Hammond. My grandfather had 18 children. So he would everybody calls somebody Reed. That's my last name. Like that would just be the moniker. They wouldn't know my name. They would just say Reed. Now, you have to respond at that point.
yeah,
And I was like, man, I'm an individual too. Like I have a name and I wanted to move so far away from it. And still to this day, like now it doesn't bother me as much because it's my last name. It's a part of me.
right,
I can still describe myself as that.
exactly. And it's a part of your story.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. Dang, that was a good closing. Again, I appreciate it, bro. Appreciate you pulling up. I think it was a great story to tell. Again, you can follow Adam on on Instagram, TVADV. Follow him. Look at all the stuff. He does a lot of great stuff.
and I appreciate y'all looking.
Yeah, yeah. Man, we got a lot to talk about again. Appreciate y'all pulling up. Peace.
Peace.